Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and today I have a product release and a full setup and review video for you here with the Aqara G3 Camera and Hub. And that's what it starts out as, but it's actually a lot more. So let's get this opened up. I'm going to show you what it is best used for, and then we'll go through things like the setup and how to get it into the different systems that you can, because this can do a ton. So let's get going. I'm going to not waste any time at all, and you can see this is pretty simple packaging from Aqara. I've had a couple of their hubs at this point, and I must say that they always do a good job. Now, the Aqara manual is here. It's actually quite a thick manual, which I'm betting is because this is a highly complex device. And right off the bat, you know, I thought this was going to be bigger, but it's actually... What is with the ears? Oh my goodness, that's cute. Oh, there's a little skin on this. So let me see if I can show you that. Yeah, they've put a little skin on this. I don't think that everyone's going to get that. I have no idea. I'll ask them and we'll put that in the comments right now. But, you know, here's what we have. It is supposed to be fully rotatable. So we have the base right here. This should go around 360 degrees. So I've hit a catch right there, and it should come all the way around. It's basically come all the way around. I don't know that that was 360, but what we're going to have is a tracking camera. This is going to be able to track people through this space. On the bottom of it here, you can see that power port. It is USB-C, and we do have a pretty good speaker here that I think we're going to be able to have some pretty good two-way communication through, in conjunction with what is two microphones. And that's going to be a little hard for me to show. There's one there. You can kind of see it there, and there's one here. Now, those are going to support two-way communication through this.
Sounds pretty good, and there's very little delay.
On the bottom are a couple of important things, and this gives you a number of different mounting choices here. This is a 1/4 inch, and you're just going to be able to screw this into a number of mounts. You're going to be able to put it in a bunch of orientations too, although it is pretty rigid up here on the top, so you're going to have that pan and tilt capability that it can work with, but you're not going to have a full movable head if you try and mount it like this and you want to get it like, you're not going to be able to do that kind of thing. On the bottom is HomeKit integration. Now, the entire system, or every different Aqara device that you pair with this, it will come into Apple HomeKit. It'll pair with Google Assistant or the Google Home application and bring in lots of the devices there for control through voice, as well as Amazon's voice assistant and that whole system. So with that HomeKit code, it tends to be one of the only hub choices for Zigbee devices, which is mostly what you have with Aqara in their system. There's a button on the front here, and you know, I kind of assumed when I opened it up, okay, well, that's just going to be a power on button, but it actually does much more than that. There's a factory reset component, but actually if you hold this for 3 seconds, there's an emergency push notification that goes out. It's 1296p resolution. That's what's coming through this camera sitting here. And it's also supported by a night vision, which is this based on this light sensor as well as the camera here. Now, it's going to connect through Wi-Fi, although it is both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi capable. That's something that's a little bit rare too in terms of hubs. We don't see a lot of that 5 gigahertz connectivity. The other thing about those cameras is there's actually both gesture and facial recognition on this camera. So gesture controls means you're going to be able to do some things in front of it that would allow you to execute different automations or different actions with this hub. In terms of that Zigbee hub, well, it's not just a Zigbee hub too. This is one of the really different things about the Aqara G3. You'll notice right there on the box, it says that it can do infrared control. So this means, you know, you have a remote for your television and it's got those little bubbles on the front, or it's one of these that just has a kind of that black shiny shield on it, and you're controlling a television or you're controlling an AC unit or a heater or something with that remote. Well, this can actually replace that remote in a lot of cases. Inside the box, we actually just had a couple of other things. Now here is the AC adapter. So this is coming straight from your wall. You can see it's a 2-prong, and obviously there's going to be European versions of this that'll look a little different, but it's a USB-A, and that goes hand in hand right here with our USB-A to USB-C that goes into the back of this camera. I've had the Aqara G3 in my home now for about a week. I've put it through its paces, and I'm ready to tell you 5 things that are really important before you go make a purchasing decision on this camera. The very first thing is about storage options. Now, there is onboard storage, although we don't know the physical size of it on this camera. Aqara doesn't share that. We have the micro SD card here that you can just get to by tilting up a little bit. It supports up to 128 gigabytes for a micro SD card, so that's a great option. You can get continuous recording as well as event-based recording, and the timeline is really good to scroll through, move through, and to pinch and zoom as you need to get to those events. Plus, another great thing about that is that you can identify other alert events to put on that timeline. So really powerful to actually be able to search through and move to get to those different events you want to capture or download and bring to your phone or other places. The last storage option is HomeKit Secure Video, which you will need a subscription for if you go that route, but that's a big benefit for those of you using Apple HomeKit. Speaking of Apple HomeKit, that's the best integration that you will get with this. Google and Amazon can both display the camera, and Amazon can actually two-way communicate through their Echo Shows. That's great, but really after that, there are very few benefits to integrating with Google and Amazon other than controlling things like smart plugs. It's Apple HomeKit where we get really just about everything that can come in and be integrated with the Zigbee hub on this device. One disappointment for me there was that the IR controlled devices that I set up here in the hub, those did not come and integrate into any other system. So I wish that would come in. That's not there today, so don't expect control outside of the automation options that are on this camera and in the Aqara app. Another big thing you'll need to understand is that you need to kind of switch through modes that this camera can go into. So we have gesture, we have facial recognition, and we have human tracking and pet tracking, and we also have the ability to switch between kind of a sentry mode they call cruise here. All of those different modes and the motion detection and sound detection, all of those you can enable and disable inside of the automations in the Aqara app. And what's really important to recognize there is that you can't necessarily use all of those at the same time. But that depth of automation, the ability to use multiple conditions and multiple actions all at the same time, and to enable and disable all those different modes, makes this something that you can use in multiple cases. The fourth thing is related to some of those gesture, face recognition, night vision features. Pretty much everything I've seen on this, although the camera can see much further than 10 to 15 feet because of its resolution, I've found that most of those features are geared to be within 10 to 15 feet. Any further out and they're not really working reliably. So you just have to keep that in mind. It's not gonna pick you up doing the finger guns 25 feet away. And the last thing is the tracking feature. Now, I reviewed the Wisecam Pan V2. I said the tracking feature was excellent. They've done a great job. This is good, but if you're moving very quickly through a space, it can lose you. So it's just a little bit less good than the Wisecam V2 here in terms of tracking people through a space. But honestly, for most normal movement, you're going to catch everything. The rest of today's video is setup, and it's how to do things with this camera and this hub because it is really complex as a device. So what you're going to want to do is check down below in the description. There's a number of time codes that you can use to get to those sections to kind of look at some of those features that you are maybe honing in on or thinking you might want to use, because there are some pretty big details about how they work and what they can accomplish for you. So check those out. Otherwise, thanks guys. We'll see you soon. So my cat is sitting here blinking. You can see it. It's ready to connect. It's given us that statement. And now inside of the application, this is the Aqara Home application. Now I'm hitting the plus, and once I hit that plus, I'm going to hit Camera Hub G3. It's going to ask me if I want to accept their privacy policy, and today I'm going to do that. Now it's saying turn on the power, press and hold the camera function button for 10 seconds and wait for the device to play the sound prompt.
Ready to connect. Please open the Aqara Home app.
So I've hit next, and now I have to type in my basically my Wi-Fi ID and my password. If you need to pick a different Wi-Fi system, you can always hit that arrow on the right, but I'm just going to hit next. Now it wants me to scan this QR code with the camera itself.
Wi-Fi connecting. Please wait.
So there you go. Now we've got to wait up to 60 seconds. If this doesn't work, what I want you guys to do is take a few devices off your Wi-Fi. It might be too busy, or get this a little bit closer to your Wi-Fi base station.
The account is bound successfully. Welcome aboard.
I'm going to leave the name of my accessory. I could change that, and we can change which room it's in. If you want, you can add a room down at the bottom here, but I'm just going to leave it in the default room for now, and we're only adding the camera here. So you can see I click that little checkbox. And what that little checkbox does is it adds it to my list of favorite devices. So I'm hitting done, and now we've got to do a quick firmware update. I'm going to hit go to update and let that all happen. Be back in a sec. That's actually the entire setup process, or the initial setup process. Now we're going to want to do some of the other things, but I'm going to show you some of the basic features first. So I can tap on my camera and go into it. You can see it's looking at the very good Superman chest here that I got going on. And if I want to scroll back and forth, I can actually just use my finger on the screen and swipe a little bit. So it's just a simple pull and go back that way. I can also pinch and zoom to get it to zoom in and out on things I want to see. And down below, you know, in the little circle here, I have the ability to pan and tilt, and I can go up and down there as well. So quite simple to control the camera moving around your home and your space. Now there's a couple of controls up at the top that are really important. So I can change between HD, full HD, and auto to let it adjust on its own if maybe network bandwidth is a bit of an issue. One of the most interesting features I've seen though with this camera is you can see I just hit that little button. So it looks like a couple of rectangles and there's a little arrow in there. And now I can actually leave the Aqara application and it's hovering over, or it's allowed to display over some other things. It's a really nice feature. You can see I can pause the video feed and I can actually move it around. So very impressive stuff there. And when I want to return, I can hit that button again and I'm right back into the interface. When I hit the little speaker button, it's actually allowing me to hear what's going on the other side of the camera. I'm going to turn that off for now, but it doesn't allow you to two-way communicate. That's not what you're doing yet. It's actually the button right here that allows you to communicate two ways. The other thing we can do is turn the whole interface on its side. So that was up in the top right corner. You can see the two little arrows that are popping out. We're just going to hit that, and now I have my interface like this instead of being that upright version of it. When I hit this button right here, you can see that it went to sleep, and actually the whole camera went to sleep, and it's kind of cute. Now this shows us something that we didn't have before. There's a little micro SD slot, and this is something that's really important for this camera. That's where you're going to be able to create local storage for the videos that this camera is taking. Obviously, I can wake up the device by hitting that again. Now, the next two buttons, or actually the next three buttons, are activating different components of this. So I can hit that. You can see it just took a picture that I can actually view, and this has been saved. The next one is actually taking a short video on the device. So it's recording a video, you can see up in the top left, and whenever I want that to stop, I can hit that. And again, I can go in and view. If I'd like, I can share or delete those videos, and there is limited storage space that's going to be available here without that micro SD card. I can hit the pause button over on the right. This would stop the camera feed, and I want to show you something about that. So now this is showing a blue light around here, and this is one of the important security features. There you go. Now you can see that this light has turned red, which means someone is monitoring the camera on a smartphone or on some other device. There are two other functions on the screen right now, the infrared remote, which I'll show you later in the detailed setup, and the concerned positions. This is basically when you set it into a sentry mode. And when you go into the advanced section here, this is where kind of the rubber hits the road, so to speak, on a lot of these features that we've talked about earlier. You have to pick from one of them on this screen, and I think that's really important for people to know. You can't have it be a person tracking device and a dog and cat tracking device. It's not going to do that, although if it sees those different things, you can usually trigger automations. I'll show you that in the automation section, but the cruise is where you're going to select a number of those different locations, and it's going to move through the space. There's also the face identification mode, and what's interesting about that one is it seems like it's the only one that you can turn a couple of the modes on with, because when you go to gesture identification, it turns off those other modes. Now, both the face and the gesture modes there, those identifications have to be set up, so you have to get people's faces in there. There is this concerned positions capability. Now this allows you to set positions that you would automatically go to, and one of the big benefits of that is that you could say, okay, this is my front door, and if we had that vibration sensor, then we know that here, whenever we go to the front door, that's exactly where it's going to return. So I'm going to scroll. So you can see I scrolled a little bit to the right, and now if I go into concerned positions and I hit front door, it turned back to that spot. So when you create these, then they become things that you can automate based on. When we go into the advanced tab, we have a number of features. So human tracking is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to move around the space following people. Same with the dog and cats. And cruise will allow you to set a number of stops on the path here. So we can go ahead and add a number of those locations that we just created, or any of the locations that we have, and it will go to those in order if we would like. So I've called this one test. I'm going to hit save, and this cruise mode then, when I press it, we'll actually see it. So it just went to one of the positions, and then it should come back and go to the other one. So So you can see it'll just move through your space through a number of different positions that you create. And we created those in the concerned positions. The next one is face identification. And the first time you press on that, it'll probably tell you, oh, do you want to take a picture with your phone? What do you want to do in order to get that working? But I'm just going to hit more. And when we go in here, we can go into more settings. Then we have face management, and we can add and import different people. So I'm going to put in the name, and I'm called Dad around here, and then I'm going to choose a picture from my album. I could take a picture, but I have a number of them already created. You can see me looking a little bit silly there. I'm going to hit done, and I can save that picture. Then I'm going to hit save up at the top, and you can see that it added me. Now, one of the things that I was having trouble with was any sort of background in the picture. That's why I looked a little bit silly, other than the fact that I look a little bit silly. But now I'm importing that picture for you, and now I'll be able to get face identification. So we can actually trigger things off of that, and we can do more with different faces. So you can add other people if you'd like, but for now I'm just going to add me. So now that I've uploaded a face and I'm in face identification mode, then I can go into more, and there's a couple of things we can do. So I'm going to go into more settings and go into alert settings. And here we have face detection selected. You need to have that in order to get a notification. Of course, you'll want a push, and you might want a notification that a recording has gone on. You can set the period, and you can set how fast you're allowing this to detect different faces. There are different modes here, and you should always be aware that you've got to switch between those modes for different alerts. The other thing that you'll probably want to do with this is to create an automation. So I can hit plus, and I hit add, the camera sees a known face, and then I can select the person. So I just selected myself. Then I can do different actions. And just for demonstration here, I think we just want a push notification. So I did a customized one, and if I want, I can actually make this camera say different things or to play different sounds. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. This is just Dad detected as an automation. You can see how quick that was. I've tested this out to about 10 to 15 feet. It works reliably. You get these notifications right here, and you can see there's my custom one, plus there was a face detected. And again, you probably want to set that one up more around unknown faces, but a really great feature here. One last thing about face detection is that you can turn on both human tracking or another type of tracking and face identification. So that's a really great component here for you if you want to use facial identification for security purposes. That's one of the ones you can use for dual purposes. Now we'll do some gesture identification. This is one of the ones that has to work on its own. Doesn't mean you can't have other alerts going on, but I'm going to hit more. And the biggest thing you're going to want to do with these is to create automations. I've already created this one. If the gesture detected was a finger gun, so it's like this, then I want to play a certain ringtone. Now, I'm just going to show you the other gestures that you can have on here. These are the ones that you could do in front of the camera. It's about 10 to 15 feet, and then you can create all kinds of automations based on that. The other setting you might want around this is, again, inside of alert settings. So we have to go over to gesture detection and make sure that that is turned on. We have the detection mode being gesture only. There is this other capability to ensure that it's just a certain person. So you can go gesture and face detection. So it has to be someone who's been saved to the camera already within that other face detection mode. Then you can set a region that you want only to have detection on gestures here if you'd like. And you can set the period as well. Now that we've inserted that SD card, we're going to want to go into more settings, and this is where we have some other settings to walk through. So I've gone into camera settings, and here's the SD card storage. You can see how much is filled up or how much is used, and you can see the record mode. Now with the SD card, you have a lot of options here. So we can stop recording, record continuously, or just activity detection. So that would be based on the different modes that you have. Right now, this is recording 100% continuously on this device. When the storage is full, this is a very important setting. Just go ahead and loop and delete the older videos. If you're having trouble with your card though, you might want to format, or if you have other stuff on there, format to get this usage all the way down to 0. The great news for you with micro SD cards in this camera is the largest is 128 gigabytes. Really powerful stuff. Let's roll through a few of the advanced features, how to use them, how to set them up. Here is the infrared control, and I'm going to show you how to set up one of those. I have my infrared remote, and you can always kind of tell that with this kind of a bubble being on the front. And that's the lighting panel that this remote controls. So I can turn it on. You see it's a very bright light. I can change to a number of other colors. And so we can program lots of these things in. So we'll start by hitting the plus on the remote control. Now we actually have a lot of different options that we can pick through. So I can choose TV, and you can see that there's a number of TVs on here. I will be testing this with my Panasonic TV. So I can go ahead and hit that, and now it will actually tell you to run through a bit of a setup process. But I want to show you that this can do just about anything. This is not a device that you're going to be able to find here. So what we're going to choose is to customize, and we can call this whatever we'd like. So I'm calling this remote panel blue, and I've hit OK, and now I can add buttons. So we're going to aim at that, and we're going to press the same button. Okay, so we're going to hit the on. Now we would name this button. So this is on, and I'm going to hit OK. I can add additional buttons, so let's go ahead and add blue. So I just hit the blue. When I go back, all I did was go back to this screen. I didn't even have to save anything. I can go into panel blue, and I can hit blue, and you can see that it changed it to blue. I can also hit my on, I can hit my blue, and that means I can program any of these buttons in for this type of control. Sadly, we can't get these kinds of infrared control devices into voice assistants, but we can do some other things with it. So I just hit the top three little dots up there. I can change the accessory name, I can change the room. This is all inside of the Aqara application. I can also, even if I'd like, change details about the hub that it's connected to, but probably the thing you want to do the most is to create automations around this. And one of the really great things is that based on whatever you'd like in the Aqara application, you can press any of the remote control buttons that you have access to. So if I'd like to turn it on and then change it to the blue color, because that's what I'd like to do here, there I go. So I could turn this panel on anytime any of the triggers occur that I want to check on this camera, or any of the other triggers in my home. So actually really powerful with the IR component. One of the great things about Aqara's system is they have a lot of little sensors and little devices that you can include in the system and create automations. Now, this is a wall switch that they sell, and they also have devices like this little motion sensor, and here's a vibration sensor, plus they have door sensors, lots of different kinds of things. And you know, one of the biggest use cases for a camera is to create an automation when something in your home happens, that camera starts a recording. So that's what we're gonna end up doing here, but I'm gonna show you how to pair a device that you've gotten from Aqara to this kind of a hub. So I'm gonna hit the plus up in the top left up here, and then I'm gonna give you a better view of this, but we're gonna go into sensors, and here's where you'll find all the different sensors that Aqara has in your area. Here's the vibration sensor. That's what I'm gonna pair today. So I'm gonna hit on that. And then we've got to choose the hub. You can see I've had a few hubs in my home, but I'm choosing the G3 Camera Hub. Now, it says you need to actually hold this for 5 seconds until the light blinks. There it goes. It just blinked. Now I've let go. And that's how quick it is with this. Now, I have to name the accessory. This page jumped up right away, and I'm just gonna call this a door sensor. Now I can pick the default room, or I can pick any of the other rooms that I've created, and I can add a room if I would like. So if I was to put this vibration sensor, say, on the front door, well, then I would actually choose that. We'll pick that name. I'll add that name here. So there we go. We've got the front door, and the vibration sensor is going to go into that, but it's going to be called door sensor. So I could stick this on the front door. Now, if I hit this little button, this puts it in my list of favorites, which is a tab in the main screen. I'll show you here in a second. So I hit done, and now you can see it's in my list of favorites because there's the favorites right there. If I wanted to go through the different rooms, I can scroll along. Here's my entry room, and here's my front door where the vibration sensor is sitting. One of the great things you can do is trigger a recording when this goes off. So let's create that automation with this camera. I'm going to go into automations, and then I'm going to hit the plus button up here. Under if, we have to choose the condition or the multiple conditions. Now you can see I have my door sensor right here. I can choose it, and actually that sensor has a number of different functions. So I could choose drop, tilt, or vibration. You can play with it as you see fit, but I'm just going to choose vibration is detected. If I wanted to add additional conditions that could start this automation, I can do that by hitting add again. So let's say if the camera hub actually sees someone or sees some motion, then I can add that as another condition. And of course, I could add other sensors, other things that I have in my home into this whole thing. Plus, I can add automations. If these are enabled or disabled, we can run other automations based on that. So there's a lot going on here. You have the timer where you can have it within a set period of time. And actually within this main page, you also have the ability to set a couple of other things. So if all conditions are met, and I just pressed on that, and now I have two options. So I can pick if all the conditions are met at the same time, or if any condition is met. So this is an and statement, and that would mean if I choose that, it's vibration is detected and motion is detected. But if I choose any condition is met, it is vibration is detected or the motion is detected will trigger the set of actions. And that's what's in the then statement. So I'm going to hit add. And now we can choose a number of things to go on. So when we choose our camera hub here, our G3, we can choose a lot of different things. Now, in this case, we probably want to do something like record a video because we've had some detection on our front door of vibration. So that's a likely thing we'll want to do. But I want to show you the other automations that we have as options for the G3 camera. You can turn off privacy detection, which is to wake up the camera. This is to set it to sleep and it won't be showing. And I actually showed that the camera itself just kind of goes down and is physically hidden. So that's great privacy detection. You can do that based on a number of other things. You can turn it to a predefined position. There are a number of positions that you've set. So let's say that you know that this sensor is on the front door. Well, you can turn to a predefined position at the front door. That's super useful to drive your automations around. You can play ringtones out of this. There's a lot of different ones that you can have come out of this. So, you know, someone's coming into your home, you don't want them there. The ability to enable and disable that motion detection, as well as enable and disable sound detection, facial recognition, human detection, cat and dog gesture, human tracking, so that's the actual auto rotation, and the cat and dog tracking, so that's again rotating based on that. Now there are certain modes that you can turn on this, and that will turn off other things. So the PTZ calibration should just make it recalibrate where it is. But again, we're just going to choose to record a video. And the other thing we could do is we could add additional things that go on. So if you want, you can add a push notification or a push alarm notification. There's a lot of different things you can do with the whole Aqara system. And the last thing you can do is if you just want this to execute once, for some reason, there's a couple of automations that you might have in your head that you just want to execute once, and then it disables the automation. And what that means is I'll hit save here. I've got to name the automation because with, let's say, vibration. And if I disable an automation, that's actually the same as this. So this won't run while I do that, but now it will run. Now I'm going to do one other thing just to show you that this is working. I'm going to create a push notification. I'm just going to leave it as default. You could go and customize and you could say what exactly you want the notification to say, but I'm just going to say default. It will tell me that the name of the automation is running when this happens. So let's test it out. So there you go. There's the automation message I got. If I want, I can tap into that. It's going to open up to that automation. It'll give me the results like it executed and whether or not it recorded the video. So I could now go to that actual video in the camera and pull it out, review what's going on. There are a few more things you've got to know about the settings on this device, so we're going to do a quick walkthrough. I could get to this more settings page through here or up here. Just going to hit that one for now. Here's the accessory name. I can change that, and I can change the location, so I can move it between the different rooms in my home. I can also quickly see the different accessories. You can see one of them is an IR sensor. Or an IR control that I've set up with a remote, and then here's the vibration sensor that I've attached to this. The homepage card allows you to modify the name on your homepage. Do I want to add it to my favorites? And I can change the icon if I had any other icons there. It might be changing in the future, but here's the albums, which is all my different recordings that you can see. Here's the screenshots I've taken manually, and these are push videos. So you can actually see the different types of videos that you've triggered in different ways. That's what the push video album is. There is more settings, which is a huge component to this. The camera settings are here. You can turn off the indicator light on the front of this. You can see mine is off at the moment. I actually turned that off in HomeKit, so it can override this setting if you do that. But you also have video settings. So if you want a timestamp on all of your videos, you can do that. If this is upside down, if you put that in a mount, you can choose that. And the infrared night vision, I just always leave these at auto switch. It always works really well with these cameras. Time sleeping. Do you want to put this to sleep at a certain time? You can do that. You could do this through automation as well, based on, you know, you arriving or turning off the security system component here to the whole Aqara application. There's also the base volume. And then here's the SD card storage that we've already gone through in that. Plus, if you just want to do a quick restart of the whole camera, you can do that. It'll recalibrate. Pan, tilt, and zoom settings. So this just makes sure that it goes back to the previous state. If power comes back to this, you can also run a quick calibration. The alert settings is quite deep. Every time you go into one, if you want certain alerts to come through, this basically has to match the mode that you are in. So right now I'm in gesture detection mode. You can see that that is turned on. If I hit something and I want to turn it on, you can see that we're detecting abnormal sounds. And we can get push notifications. We can also trigger recording. So it is easy to turn on these different options for alerts, but you do have to watch which mode you're in. Some of them are not compatible to working together. There are some deeper ways to manage this. So I'm going to choose to turn on human detection. It's going to turn off my other mode, and I can associate an event label when we're doing these different things. Now what's going to happen with this, I'm going to choose my door sensor, and when vibration is detected, I'm going to hit add. And what's going on now is this will associate on the timeline. It'll show me vibration is detected, and I could choose other colors to differentiate different events. And then on the timeline, when a vibration is detected and I have human detection, this will allow me to quickly get to those events or quickly see them on the overall timeline for seeing video on this. Face management, we've already been into, so go to that section if you want to see this. But you can add additional people. Same thing with the infrared remote control. Now, in terms of security settings for this, if you want to turn on a password to protect this camera itself, you can do that. There is the accidental deletion. So if you don't want to have this ever deleted by anything but the app, well, then go ahead and turn that on. Not a big concern for me in my home, but you could want to turn that off. We've already gone through automations a number of different ways, and there are scenes that you can set with this camera. One of the best things to do is to set a number of scenes that prepare you for the different types of, or the different modes that you have on this. So if you wanted to enable sound detection, you could turn that on as part of a scene when someone comes home, and then you can add that scene to an automation. There are logs for this device. They're quite comprehensive, so you're going to get a number of different things. So you can actually track just about everything that's going on in front of this camera, as well as the different modes too that you've changed. Plus you can go through the different dates. There is network information that you can see here. You can see your Wi-Fi name, the signal strength coming for Wi-Fi. Those are big, useful things, especially for a camera. And here's the IP address for you and the MAC address as well. If you want to read the privacy policy, go ahead. Who the manufacturer is, the accessory ID, the version, all of those things are here. And there's a remove accessory down at the bottom if you want to unpair this from your app. There's also the ability to add this to the home screen. It'll look a little different on iOS, but I'm using Android right now. It creates this little widget that allows me to quickly get into the camera. So that's a nice way to quickly get there when you're using Android. From the main page, there's also a big component here for Aqara with the alarm system. And you can also do similar things inside of Apple HomeKit, but you can actually set up the alarm system and the different modes that you want to place your device and your whole alarm system into. So I've tapped on Away Alert, and I can have an exit delay to all of these things. Plus then I can add my different devices in that would be part of the alarm system. So what I've done here is once I turn on the alarm system, I'm saying I'm going away, I'm leaving the home. I have an exit delay of 30 seconds, which I could change if I'd like, and then these devices become the armed devices. Now I can set different modes for those. So we can go to abnormal sounds, motions, or unknown faces. That's really comprehensive in terms of security there, because if it's a known face, I don't really need the alarms to go off. But I can also set for other sensors. I can set those modes that I want to receive notifications. Plus, I can have alarm actions. Now, when the system is armed, you can enter the home and the system starts the entry delay timer as well. It's up to you if you want a little bit of delay when you come in, but here's the actions that you can take. So do you want an alarm notification? Usually. And what sound would you like to have coming out of, for example, this camera? Then you hit done and you hit got it. Now you can see that I have set that up. So now if I want to arm my system, and you can see I've hit that, I've got a little countdown. So now you can see we're counting down. We're about to go into an armed mode under away. And there it is. It heard me. The really great thing about the alert system is if you have multiple hubs, you can actually use those. It doesn't really matter. So the alert system is a big deal for the Aqara system, and I think it's a really great pairing with the hub itself. Let's get the camera into the Google Assistant and all of the devices that we've connected to this camera. It's a pretty simple process. Just in the Google Home application, I hit up at the top there on the plus, and we're going into Setup Device. Now, there's two choices here, and you want to choose Works with Google. The next thing you want to do is actually search for Aqara. Now, you could just scroll down and find it in the list, but we're just going to go Aqara Smart Home. Now, you can see that there's a few different ones for different places in the world, and that's where whatever you chose at the start of the process for creating your account really matters. But here I'm just going to input my account. So now I've hit sign in, and it's linking the two accounts together. So between Google and Aqara, it's putting those two together. Sometimes what you'll find is a screen pops up with all of the new devices from Aqara at this point, but it's not happening very consistently, so I'm going to show you how to get, and actually it didn't show up that way for me. I'm going to show you how to get to those. Okay, so the first one is our camera. You can see it's in this linked to you section, and they're not in a home in our Google Home application. So we actually have to do that for each device that has come in. So I'm going to choose Add to a Home. I will pick the home inside of the Google Home application. Boy, I've got to say home a lot. And then I'm going to hit Next. Now I'm going to move the device, and we'll put it into whichever room that we're going to put this in general. For right now, it's in my studio, so I'm hitting Next. There's also the ability to create a new room down at the bottom in case you need that. One of the things that you'll probably notice is that not necessarily all of the devices you have in the Aqara application have come across, and the vibration sensor that I've connected to this has not come across, but another device has a temperature and humidity sensor. So you can tell that it's an Aqara device because it says Unlink Aqara Smart Home right here. This is where I can add this to a home and put it into a room, just like the other one. And then one of the biggest things you're going to want to do with any sort of Google Nest integration is to see that camera. So show me Camera Hub G3.
Got it. Streaming the Camera Hub G3.
So we did hear the audio piping through this, and then there was some feedback because they're really close. But you'll notice that I asked for the name of the camera hub. I could also say, show me the camera in the studio, and that would work out. So the other thing you can do on these displays is to zoom in. You do not have two-way communication at this point between Google and Aqara on the camera through this method, but you will be able to hear what's going on the other side. One thing I want to show you is you can see the studio temp. That was the temperature and humidity sensor. And if you have smart plugs or smart switches, other devices from Aqara, you're going to be able to control them through the Google Assistant. But with a temperature sensor, you can usually ask for temperature. So what's the temperature in the studio?
Studio temp is currently 20.45 degrees.
What's the humidity in the studio?
Studio temp has a current humidity reading of 41%.
Let's get Aqara into Amazon's voice assistant so we can manage it there. Today, what you have to do is go to the More tab and you'll go into Skills and Games. Then you're going to wait for the page to pop up and you'll see a search icon up at the top there. Hit that and type in Aqara. That's the easiest way to find it today, and we'll be able to tap on Aqara Home. You can read some information about this, but in general what you want to do is hit the Enable to Use. This will cause a sign in here for you to do with your account that you use when you set up the whole system here. So I just hit sign in once I put in the credentials for my Aqara account, and now I just have to hit close because it says it linked those. What will happen over the next 40 seconds is Amazon's voice assistant is looking for the devices to connect from this system. At the end of that, it's likely to tell you, okay, there's a number of new devices. If it doesn't, you can always head into your list of all devices, or you saw up at the top, I had 12 new devices available. So here's my Camera Hub G3. You can see it right here, and you'll have to find your other devices throughout that have been added. It's not guaranteed that Amazon has every device type available for you to do something with. Of course, this is in my all devices list, and in most cases, you're going to go through the devices tab here and you're going to find your list of cameras, and then you'll go into them here. Right now, it's not in any groups. It hasn't been added to anything, but I can tap on the Camera Hub and now you're seeing a much more comprehensive page. So I can see the live feed immediately. I can also expand on it, turn my phone this way. If I'd like, I can two-way communicate. So this is a very big deal as I go through here. If I'd like to hear what's on the other side of the camera, I can tap on that. And that's also doable here in the main page. If I would like to, I can go into the settings or the gear icon here where I can edit the name of the camera, disable it, or delete it entirely. But the thing you want to do for the most part, you know, remembering that name Camera Hub G3 might be kind of difficult for you over time. You have a number of options now. You can add it to your list of favorites here in the application. So I could hit edit, add new, and I could go find that camera, and then it's a quick tap to see it in the application, just like this one that I have right here. I can also add it to different groups. So let's say that we're going to put this in the office. And if I go into the office group, then I can go into edit up at the top. And now I have the ability to go and find that camera and add it to the group. You can see I put a check mark next to it, and then I just hit save. What this gives me the capability of doing is just requesting an Echo Show to show me the camera in the office instead of having to remember that name. Of course, I could edit it, but let's go ahead and do that. Show me the camera in the office.
Which camera? Echo Show 82 or Camera Hub G3?
Camera Hub G3.
Okay.
I had to turn down my volume because there's a lot of feedback coming between these two, but here we have an extra option for Amazon's voice assistant. We can speak through. The other option we have, of course, is still to zoom in and out. You're going to be able to monitor your camera. You can't swipe and move the camera back and forth like you could in the Aqara application. So if you want to move around your space, you don't have access to do that. I know that lots of you will be wondering about routines, and you don't have any trigger options with the camera. You may get that in the future, but as of today, there's nothing in the smart home section around this camera. So you don't have that. You may get that for some of the sensors and other items as well in the future. There's also not any action items that we can deal with or execute at this point with the camera. So you're not having a lot of true automation options just natively, but there is one way around this. So instead of saying, going into the smart home area here, actually just create a custom action. So what you could type in within this custom action is show me the Camera Hub G3. Oh, and I got to put a little space there on my Echo Show 8.2. That's the name of my Echo Show 8.2. I can hit next, and this allows me to then get that camera to show up here automatically. I, of course, can pick from a number of triggers, but if I just want to test if this action is going to work, there's actually a preview this action here. Now you're seeing that I can pick the device that it's responding from, so I'll go Echo Show 8.2. And we know this will work now. One of the biggest benefits of Aqara and their whole system here is that it integrates with Apple HomeKit. So you're going to need the Home application. This is from Apple directly. It should be on a lot of iPhones and iPads. And then what we're going to do is add this as a hub to our home. So we're going to add an accessory. And at that point, we're going to scan the QR code that's at the bottom of this. You can see how quick and easy that was. And now it's asking if we'd like to add to home. We're going to hit add to home. This can fail in some cases, this component, so maybe you need to run this a couple of times. Once it's made that connection, and one of the things that really helped me to get this connect was to just kind of reboot a few things throughout my home, including this camera as I was doing the process. That helped me. It might be helpful to you, might not, but you can choose the camera location and then hit continue. You can also rename the device itself if you'd like. Now, this is a big component to setting up HomeKit secure cameras. So do you want it to be able to stream when you're home? I think in a lot of cases, people will want to turn it off. Now, there's 4 options here. No one can stream and nothing is recorded. Then there's the detect activity, which would still allow this to trigger automations. And I think that's a great option for this kind of a device. You could use it for motion detection and to trigger other things throughout your home. Then there's the stream ability, which allows the triggering of automations, but it also allows people to look at the live view. That's up to you if you want to go to that level. And then finally, there's the stream and allow recording. Now, when you hit this, they're going to request a subscription to iCloud. You need to have one of these to record videos on iCloud using the HomeKit Secure Video. That's different from the micro SD card that you've placed in this camera. It's different than recording physically on the device. This is to Apple HomeKit and it's the Secure Video. Now you have this setting also when you're away, so you get to pick different settings for those 2 features. Then you can hit continue and you can see that it's bringing in other devices that are attached to this hub. This is a great feature to it. One of them is the security system. The other is the motion sensor that I've attached to this. What's really great is they give you really quick automations based on the security system. And so when I arrive, disarm the security system. When I leave, go ahead and show it. The other thing is that vibration sensor I've shown. We can just hit continue on that, and we can place each of these in different locations. So I'm going to put the motion sensor and the vibration sensor into those other rooms. One of the great things about the Apple Home application with a camera is they show up down here when you favorited them on the home page. They are down at the bottom. You can see that live feed. It's fantastic to have that opportunity. You can also get an overlay by hitting that. You can see that I can go to my phone. I have a microphone button so I can speak two-way through there even while I'm doing other things on my phone. And this is quite an old iPhone, so it's great to see that. I can close it, and there was also a button on there if I wanted to go back in. There's also the ability to hit the talk down here. We can see that this is a live feed, and this little button, this isn't a big use for me, but it's the nearby accessories for this device. The other thing you can do, of course, is zoom in, and if you go far enough out, it brings you back to the main page. There is, of course, the ability to listen in to what's going on around this camera. So I just hit that, and now it's piping sound from the camera to my phone. So it is full two-way communication if you'd like. Now the big settings page is here, and this is again where you can adjust the name, you can adjust the room, you can see the other accessories that are attached to this hub that you can use in the HomeKit app. Do you want to include this in the favorites? And here are some of those automatic automations that they gave us access to. There's also the ability to add additional automations. So if a sensor detects something, and you can choose your other, you saw that vibration sensor that I brought in, that's how you would create something for that. An accessory is controlled. This is, probably more related to something like the security system or any of the action items that you have in your home. You can cause an automation to trigger. You can have a time of day and the people arrive and leave automations. Once you've chosen one of those, I just chose the motion sensor. I can choose detect motion, stop detect motion. You'll get a number of different things that you can do. So we'll say that one stops detecting motion. What do I want to do? I have all of these different choices. You'll have other automation options based on your recording options that we went through during initial setup. So if you need to redo those, get some of those HomeKit secure video recordings going on and therefore trigger recordings and other things, you can do that. Here's the notifications. Do you want snapshots from what the camera sees in your notifications? Do you want to know when it changes status or when it goes offline? And do you want the notifications to the phone? And you can see you have all of these other options once you've done that. Would you like the camera status light to be on? You turn that off. And do you want the night vision light to be on? There you go. The other setting that I think a lot of you will want is to choose to show as separate tiles. You saw this security tile just show up separately. So this is really helpful with the Aqara G3 to actually be able to manage your security system separate from the camera itself. In the HomeKit application. I know you're seeing another one up here. That's actually from my M2 hub that I have from Aqara as well. So you can actually get multiple of those. So whenever you show as a single tile, you'll watch that one just disappeared. So there you have it. That's the G3 camera from Aqara. Thanks for watching today. If you want to buy one of these, the links are down below. And of course, if you want to see some of the other smart home cameras that we have reviewed on Automate Your Life, check those out in the link that's up on screen right now. There you go. Otherwise, thanks for watching today. And of course, don't hate, automate.